I spent $1,153.44 last month living in a van traveling from Pennsylvania to Kentucky, which is obviously not going to be a normal month for me when I'm just living in one city. And monthly costs will differ for everyone. And also, I wasn't trying to be super frugal last month either, so let's just put all of that in there to factor as well. I want to break down every cost so that if you are considering van life, you have a frame of reference to know how much you'll be spending every month. I'm not just going to go through my expenses, but different options for different price ranges and their costs, since I figure you're watching this not just to know how much I spend, but because you probably want to live this lifestyle as well. Okay, so let's start with weekly costs. And first off is showers. I personally have a Planet Fitness membership and I love it. When I used to have a 9 to 5, I would spend $15 a month because I didn't need to access every gym. So I would just use their, their singular membership that you could only access one gym with. But now I am traveling across the country and I pay $26.31 for a Black Card membership, which allows me to access any Planet Fitness gym. But there is actually one secret a lot of people don't know about, which is that if it's not your home gym, you can't go there more than 10 times in 1 month. So if you are planning to stay in one place for a while, that Black Card membership, make sure that you change where you are to your home gym. Also, there is a extra annual fee, like a one-time annual fee for Planet Fitness memberships, which is $52.25. I just had mine. It shocked me a little bit, so don't forget about that. But there are, of course, other places to shower besides Planet Fitness. A good option is Anytime Fitness. They are $38 to $45 a month and tend to be less crowded and better if you actually want to lift weights, if you're into that. Also, it's 24 hours at all of their locations. And I hear you're much more often able to actually sleep in those parking lots overnight, like legally and allowed to. So that's obviously a perk. But there's obviously even more options than just gyms to shower at. So if you like truck stops, that could be an option. I tried that once and it cost me $17 for one shower. So that was a no for me, but you can get a Love's or Truck Stop rewards card though. And when you spend a certain amount of money on filling up your vehicle at their pumps, you can get a free shower. So that could definitely be worth looking into. You could also use a community center, which could range from $5 to $10 for a single use or the cost of their annual membership. And finally, you can use state parks or campgrounds to shower at. Or, if you have a shower in your van or you have an outdoor shower, you can attach to your van and use that. That's always a great option. But of course, then now you're paying for extra water. So different things to go for. So number 2 on our list of weekly expenses is water. I feel like the cost and frequency of this changes drastically if you have a shower in your van, which I don't, but keep that in mind when thinking about the frequency and cost for, filling up your water, it depends completely on you and your water usage. But if you have a shower in your van, then you're possibly saving that $25 a month for a gym membership. So it could be a trade-off depending. But just think about how large your water tanks are based on how much you're gonna have to be filling up and, dumping your water, etc. So I personally spend $10 a month to dump my gray water from my sink, and I spend $0 a month to fill my fresh water. I used to spend $0 total because I would just wait until I was at a friend's house and I would dump my water there, which was super awesome. That's something that you can do. Definitely take advantage of that. I have to dump it out about once a month, which when using dump stations at truck stops often costs about $10 to $15. Or if you're staying at a campground, they may have amenities there for free, which come with paying for that campground, which is lovely. As far as the cost of filling your water, there's a few options there as well. If you have a shower in your van you use often, you won't be able to do what I do to fill my water tanks just for my sink alone. But options for filling that up is about $10 to $15 at a truck stop. iOverlander shows lots of different options for where to fill up. If you're already dumping your gray water, they often have amenities for both, so you can kind of do a 2-in-1 sometimes. Cabela's sometimes has a fill up for about $5 to $10. If you're staying at a campground that also has a water hookup, that's a great added bonus. But if you're paying for a campground, that's also probably like $30 anyway, so you're paying something somewhere along the line. My favorite way to fill my water is at friends and family's houses. It costs $0. They're always so kind and sweet about it, and it's just so much easier. And my other favorite way to fill up my water is to bring in a giant water bottle to Planet Fitness. I fill it up and I bring it out, dump it in my fresh water tank, and I am good to go. And it's super nice, super convenient, and I'm already paying for it because I'm paying for the Planet Fitness membership. So make the most out of what you got. That's what you got to do. #VanLife, right? So that is how I pay $0 to fill up my water. Laugh all you want, but I recommend before you laugh to check out iOverlander in cities and see how hard it is to find fill-up spots for cheap in just every city. It's not that easy. So I prefer this way. It's nonchalant, it's easy. I'm always at Planet Fitness anyway, so I prefer it. The next area to calculate would be campsites and parking. I have only ever paid for one campsite in my 2 years of van life. Thinking about how a campground, you can use that for showering, dumping, and filling your water, maybe even for laundry at some different campsites. That $30 to $45 could be just going towards replacing other expenses for that month. So every once in a while, a campsite could actually be a good investment. So it could definitely pay for itself in the end if you think about it. The next weekly expense is food. I spent $244.86 on food last month, and $44.17 of that is on eating out. Honestly, to me, I usually hate eating out because of the price is just crazy, but when I look at the price of eating out versus the cost of my time to cook a healthy meal in this van, knowing that I could be using my time more wisely, I find that more often than not, I just have been choosing to eat out to save time. Setting up a stove, pulling it out of my closet, connecting the propane, pulling everything out, then washing the dishes, and it's a lot. I don't know, that's just my opinion. I've gotten a little tired of it, so I've been eating out a lot lately. But overall, the price for your food probably isn't going to differ that much from when you're in a house. Maybe it'll just be more spaced out when you're paying for that food because your fridge was probably smaller than what it was when you lived in a house. Probably. I don't know your life. Maybe you want like half your van to be a fridge. Do whatever you want. Gas. This is my first time living in this van where I'm full-time traveling and being in a new city every single week. But I've actually only spent $196.40 on gas this month. But again, this is a completely controllable variable, right? So back when I was working a 9 to 5, I spent about $120 on the commute in Vermont and in Salem. So this is one area, unlike water or showers, you can really control to fit your budget. Honestly, when I calculated these numbers, I was expecting that my, full-time travel gas prices were going to be way higher than my commute budget, but it was the same pretty much. The average cost of car or RV insurance is $125 to $179 a month. I personally spend $85 a month, which I'm aware is very low and not normal, so there's that. I would recommend looking into a website called Roamly if you're looking into getting insurance for your camper van. You can also get renter's insurance on your van to protect your possessions. I don't personally have this, but Valhalla Adventures does, and they're YouTubers and they pay $25 a month for this to give you a little bit of an idea of how much that might cost. The next expense is health insurance, and the average cost in the US is $430 a month. About 2 months ago, actually, I had to go to the hospital a few times because I got poison ivy, an infected spider bite, and cellulitis while hiking. So just know if you're living in a van, you might be increasing your risk of getting those kind of problems. So be prepared for that, have a budget for that, especially. So just things to think about because it was not a fun time. So next would be if you have a monthly vehicle payment like I do. So when I bought my van, it was my very first vehicle purchase and I had to put $10,000 down that day, and now I pay $300 a month on her, and it was $30,000 total. So I'm still working on paying that back, but we're actually getting pretty close, which is very exciting. Next on your monthly expenses could be a phone plan, which can range anywhere from $30 a month to $150 a month. But luckily those kind of expenses you probably already have some kind of gauge for based on what you're already paying. Another monthly expense you might have is a college loan. I am currently paying $80 a month on my college loan. So that's a fun time. And finally, rounding out that section is internet, which a hotspot can range anywhere from $50 to $140. The most popular system right now is called a Starlink, and it is $599 for the initial dish, and then $110 a month going onward forever after that. So that's out of my budget. The system I currently have in my van is called WineGuard. The startup cost for that is $380 for 4G LTE and Wi-Fi, or $226 just for the Wi-Fi. I also have the Range Pro Cell Booster, which is $499. Full disclosure, I did not pay for any of that. They sent it to me. But right now, I literally just use a hotspot and I go to cafes. So just know if you're planning to use cafes versus getting one of those systems, those $7 Frappuccinos, they add up very quickly. So just know that even if you think you're saving money on not buying those systems, you're still spending money elsewhere. Make it work in your budget. You got it. I believe in you. Okay, and rounding out our monthly expenses is laundry. So I spend about $10 a month on laundry, but that's going to change based on what laundromat you're on. The machines are going to cost differently depending. So I do about 2 loads of laundry once a month. I have a lot of clothes in here. I have a full closet, but if you are looking to maybe live in a smaller, more compact vehicle and you have less space and you don't want to prioritize that space on clothes, you'll probably have to do laundry more. Or if you have a work uniform, that number is going to double or quadruple. I don't know. I also want to say, when you're calculating how much laundry you have to do, I have to wash my blankets and my sheets abundantly more than when I lived in a house. Because you're living in a van, it's kind of like a mud room, so dirt just gets everywhere and you gotta like just keep everything clean as possible. Something that I also do is I have more than one pair of sheets, so I can change that out. So just be conscious of how much, adding that to your laundry list. Now let's talk about annual expenses. So these payments in this category aren't necessarily all once a year payments, but they do happen less than monthly, so they are going to be in this category. Starting with propane costs. This price and fill frequency will range on if you have a big or small canister. I have small canisters and I buy the 2-pack from Walmart once every 6 months. I literally use my stovetop that little. So a propane bottle from Walmart, I happen to have mine sitting in my sink because I never put things away, is $5.47 from Walmart for this little size, but I'll estimate about $30 a year I spend on propane for the van. I have seen other posts where people are saying that they spend $15 a month. So I think that's something to depend on, how much do you cook? How much are you going to use it? So next is that when I lived in Vermont, I lived there having a normal 9 to 5 for about 6 months. So I wanted, some ease in getting my mail. So I paid about, I don't remember how much it was, but I got a PO box and they on average cost about $19 to $75 for that box, depending on the size and how you choose and where and, what state it's in and what city, so the cost really varies. Anyway, you don't need a PO box if you're going to be traveling around constantly, but living in Vermont for 6 months, it was so nice to have an easy place to send mail to. Next would be national park passes, which cost $80 a year. And if you're like me last year and you throw it away in your McDonald's bag accidentally, it will be $160 a year because you'll have to buy a second one. Next on the list is oil changes, and that kind of changes for me depending on if I'm feeling like doing the oil change myself that month or if I just want to pass it off and pay professional. It also depends on how much I'm driving. Also in a vehicle like this, it's going to cost about $54. But if you want to know more about maintenance schedules and what to do to take care of your van on a regular basis, I'll link the maintenance ebook that I actually wrote myself. It has printable schedules in there as well. It's super detailed and super awesome. So if you want to check that out, I'll put it in the description. It's completely free. My favorite word. So moving on to my least favorite and the most unpredictable area of your budget, which is going to be maintenance. This is going to vary for everyone. It's going to vary every year. For me, I spent about $1,000 a year on maintenance, and I cry every time. I'm not even gonna lie, I cry all the time about how much I spend in maintenance on this vehicle. There's no way to predict this, so my greatest piece of advice is have money put aside. So something I have done recently to help combat those prices of maintenance that really just blindside me is learning to do my own maintenance. I recently saved $300 by replacing my own side view mirror and a window button panel when they broke, instead of having the mechanic do it. So all I had to do was watch a YouTube video, and it took me about 45 minutes to get them both replaced, and I saved $300. So we have finally made it to the final category, which is the miscellaneous or other things. We are starting with subscriptions. For example, Netflix, Amazon Prime. My subscriptions are actually all apps I use for editing, so Captions and Splice, I pay monthly for those. If you have a pet, that could be anywhere from $30 to $200 a month, between vet bills, food, grooming, pet sitters, insurance, pet protection for your van, etc. Our next category is haircuts or eyebrow waxing or whatever you prefer. Personally, this morning I was going to go schedule a haircut. I discovered they were like $50 these days. So I said, I have my own scissors. So what do we think? How did I do? Is it even enough? When you can do things yourself when you live in a van and you can save that money, that is 50 bucks I can spend going to go see the new Guardians of the Galaxy tonight, which is our next section, just kind of those miscellaneous crazy things. This category is spending money. Whether you want to buy firewood for a camp out or if you want to go out on the town with your friends for a night. I actually buy my mom a tea or a wine in every different state that I visit. Overall, this number adds up very quickly, but it's also completely up to you. You can have a more frugal and cost-friendly month or not, whatever you want to do. But here is the final run through of my expenses living in a van. Alright guys, I hope this video helps you figure out how to budget for van life, and if you want more information or more help, be sure to subscribe. And plus, I will leave some links to free ebooks. I actually wrote a few of them in the description. There was Project Van Life, a really great company, so be sure to check them out if you want to know more about living on the road and starting van life. If you have any more questions or suggestions for more videos, be sure to comment them, let us know, and we'll make sure to touch those topics on next. If you have any further questions as well, just drop them below. I'll be sure to answer them all, and I will see you next week.